President Zelensky called for Putin's arrest to be brought before the International Criminal Court. Vladimir Putin must be brought to justice for his war in Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky said on Thursday during a visit to The Hague, the headquarters of the International Criminal Court, known as The Hague for short. ICC. We all want to see another Vladimir in The Hague, who deserves to be punished for his criminal actions here, the capital of international law, Zelensky said in a statement. I'm sure we'll see that happen when we win, he said, adding, whoever makes war must receive judgment. During his first official visit to the Netherlands, the president of Ukraine visited the ICC. Russia is not a member of the ICC and denies its jurisdiction. The Kremlin has denied carrying out atrocities in the conflict with Ukraine, which Russia calls a special military operation. In the Netherlands, Zelensky also called for the creation of a war crimes tribunal separate from the International Criminal Court, since war crimes are not within the jurisdiction of the ICC. The aggressor must feel the full power of justice. This is our historical responsibility. There is only one organization capable of responding to the original crime, the crime of aggression, a court, a full-fledged, real, full-fledged court. An act of aggression is defined by the United Nations as the invasion or attack by the armed forces of one country on the territory of another state, or any military aggression. The ICC, based in The Hague, Netherlands, has issued an arrest warrant for Putin for kidnapping children from Ukraine. But the ICC has no jurisdiction over the crime of military aggression. And the European Commission, among others, has advocated the creation of a separate international center to prosecute crimes of aggression against Ukraine, to be established in The Hague. Major practical and legal questions still surround how such a court can be legalized, either by a group of countries backing it or with the approval of the United Nations General Assembly. Russia is not a member of the ICC and has refused ICC jurisdiction. 2. Moscow blames Washington for the drone attack on the Kremlin. Ukraine wants to arrest Putin alive before the International Criminal Court. While the Ukrainian president was in The Hague, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov had a daily press conference in Moscow. Peskov said Russian President Vladimir Putin's reaction to the drone incident at the Kremlin was calm. TASS quoted Peskov as saying, "You know that the president always remains calm, lucid in the assessments and orders that he gives in difficult, harsh situations. Nothing new has happened in this regard. Normal working environment. Everyone is working, everyone is in their place." He added that a Security Council meeting on Friday was scheduled and was not originally scheduled to be in response to what appeared to be a drone strike. As planned, the president has a meeting with the permanent members of the National Security Council tomorrow, Friday, he said. It was planned, it will happen. Of course, we can assume with a high degree of confidence that this topic will be covered. Peskov made no comment when asked by media if Russia considered Volodymyr Zelensky a legitimate military target. Peskov added that Russia knows that decisions about such terrorist attacks are made in Washington, and that Kyiv only implements these decisions. Washington is definitely behind this attack, we know it, he said. Meanwhile, a former Russian lawmaker with links to militant groups in Russia claimed the recent drone attack on the Kremlin was the work of groups he called partisan Russia, not the Ukrainian army. He commented that, according to the statements of President Zelensky, who is on a visit to the International Criminal Court, or ICC for short, the Ukrainians probably want to arrest Putin alive and bring him before the International Criminal Court rather than throwing him. Bombs destroy him. Ponomarev, currently living in exile in Ukraine and Poland, was the only Russian MP to vote against Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, and he has since been placed on a terror suspect list, according to the authorities. Russia. 3. The United States denies involvement in the drone attack on the Kremlin. The White House denies any involvement in the drone attack on the Kremlin, Major General John Kirby, communications coordinator for the National Security Council, told reporters. We have nothing to do with this. Earlier, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov made an unfounded claim that the United States was behind the incident. He said that Russia knows decisions about such terrorist attacks are made in Washington, and that Kyiv only implements these decisions. Peskov added that Washington is definitely behind this attack, we know this, although he offered no evidence to back up his claims. General Kirby said. Peskov lied, completely blatantly. He reiterated that Washington does not support or encourage Ukrainian attacks outside its borders. We have been clear to them publicly and privately that we neither encourage nor facilitate their attacks outside of Ukraine. U.S. intelligence officials are still trying to determine who is behind the drone incident over the Kremlin and are exploring various possibilities, including a fake Russian flag operation or an active flight. The action of a group of Russians who sympathize with Ukraine, or who may want an early end to a hopeless war. So far, intelligence officials have not had any definitive answers. Zelensky's top advisor, Mikhailo Podolyak, has claimed Russia staged the drone attack. He cited delays in coverage by Russian state media and simultaneous video from different angles that appeared to show the aftermath of the alleged attack. An official from the UK Department of Defence Intelligence told Tamara Cohen, political correspondent for Sky News, that anything can happen, but Ukraine does it for nothing, has no military advantage, everyone knows Putin is not staying in the Kremlin and all the consequences of an attack. It's all really in Putin's favor, the Russian public rallies, excuses for more random and reckless bombing, and on the international stage the Russians win favor with Ukraine, the world doesn't like terrorists. 4. Russia was hit by a wave of vandalism when the second train derailed. Newsweek ran a report titled Russia hit with wave of sabotage attacks as second train derailed, which translates to Russia hit with a wave of vandalism when the second train derailed. A freight train derailed on Tuesday following an explosion in Russia's Bryansk region, located near the border with Ukraine, marking the latest in a series of destructive attacks in the country in days recently. An unidentified explosive device exploded near the Snezhetskaya station. There were no casualties, Alexander Bogomaz, governor of the Bryansk region, said. As a result of the incident, a locomotive and several carriages of a freight train derailed. A day earlier, another Russian freight train also derailed in Bryansk after hitting an explosive device. This incident is the latest apparent sabotage attack to occur in Russia. Such attacks have increased in intensity since Russian President Vladimir Putin launched an all-out invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Russian Railways said in a statement that Tuesday's derailment, like Monday's, was the result of illegal interference in rail transport business. Russian state news agency TASS reported that local prosecutors had opened an investigation into the derailment. Just a few weeks after the war in Ukraine, for students protesting the conflict destroyed railways in the country. 4 Russian and foreign students, aged between 17 and 18, were arrested in the city of Ufa in March 2022 and charged with organizing an act of terrorism. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev at the time supported the reinstatement of the death penalty in Russia in response. Writing on the Telegram channel, he called the defendants monsters and said that during World War II, saboteurs were shot. There is only one sentence for such scoundrels: execution without trial or investigation. Right at the crime scene, he said. Attacks appear to be on the rise in Russia in recent days as Kiev prepares for a counteroffensive to regain territories currently under aggression. On Wednesday, Russia said a drone had caused an oil depot fire in the village of Volna, near the strategically important Kerch Strait bridge that connects Russia with Crimea. Ukrainian officials have not yet claimed responsibility for the fire. Newsweek has reached out to the Ukrainian and Russian foreign ministries by email for comment. A day earlier, Russia blamed Ukraine for another fire at an oil depot in the Crimean port of Sevastopol. In Russia's Belgorod region, located near the Ukrainian border, a drone dropped explosives on a construction site near the village of Priles on Tuesday, Telegram Baza channel reported. 5. U.S. intelligence chief says Moscow's forces lack the strength to carry out large-scale attacks. The head of the U.S. intelligence agency said that Russian forces in Ukraine have degraded to the point of being unable to make any significant offensive moves and are now focused on consolidating control of the territory. Aggression. During a Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on Thursday, Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines said Putin's strategy is more likely to seek to prolong the conflict for the better. Until Western support for Kyiv waned, Putin has probably narrowed down his immediate ambitions to consolidate control of the invaded territory in eastern and southern Ukraine, while at the same time ensuring that Ukraine will never become an ally, she said, of NATO. However, she said that, regardless of the outcome of Ukraine's attack, Putin is unlikely to make any concessions to advance peace talks. The challenge is that, even if Putin can scale back his short-term ambitions, the prospect of Russian concessions to advance negotiations this year will be very low unless there are political loopholes in the country that make the situation worse, change his mind. While the Western allies supported Kyiv with weapons, ammunition and training ahead of the planned attack, Haines noted that Russian forces had a significant shortage of ammunition and personnel. Even if the Ukrainian counteroffensive is not completely successful, the Russians are unlikely to launch a major offensive operation this year. We further assess that Putin is most likely calculating that time is in his favor and that prolonging the war may be his best remaining path to ultimately securing Russia's strategic interests in Ukraine. 6. Drones attack another oil depot near the Crimean bridge. Newsweek ran a report titled "Drone Attack Hits Another Oil Depot Near Putin's Crimea Bridge," which means, drone attacks another oil depot near Putin's Crimea Bridge. An oil depot located near the strategically important Kerch Bridge, which connects Russia to Crimea, caught fire early Wednesday morning, a Russian official said. Veniamin Kondratyev, governor of Russia's southern Krasnodar region, said on his Telegram channel that an oil storage tank had caught fire in the village of Volna, near the port of Taman, and that the fire has been classified as the most difficult. Volna is located near the Kerch Strait Bridge, which is Russia's only land route to the illegally annexed Crimea Peninsula and the main supply route for Russian forces in the ongoing war in Ukraine. The latest fire comes days after Russia blamed Ukraine for another fire at an oil depot in the Crimean port of Sevastopol. The fire started around 2:30 a.m. Moscow time. Kondratyev said, a tank containing petroleum products caught fire in the village of Volna, Temryuksky district. According to preliminary information, there are no deaths or injuries. He added, everything can be done to keep the fire from spreading further. Russia's state news agency TASS cited emergency services as saying the fire was the result of the drone. Ukrainian officials have not yet claimed responsibility for the fire. Newsweek has reached out to Ukraine's foreign ministry for comment via email. Videos of the fire quickly went viral on Russian and Ukrainian social media on Wednesday, showing flames raging and large columns of black smoke rising into the sky. Local news channel CHP Sevastopol said on Telegram that the fire could be seen from the Kerch Strait Bridge. A video of a burning Tamaneftegaz station in the Krasnodar region, it is said to have been hit by a drone. Anton Gashenko, an advisor to the Minister of Internal Affairs of Ukraine, shared a 28-second video of the fire. Gashenko suggested that the fire could be part of Ukraine's preparations for the coming offensive. Military theory suggests that weakening enemy logistics is an important part of preparations for counter-operations, writes Gashenko. As we can see, the intensity of attacks on oil depots and railway logistics is increasing. The depletion of the resources of the Russian armed forces is taking place. Gashenko added, the Russian people see Ukrainian drones even in the stars and pigeons. Rangers hide in every forest. Earlier this week, Alexei Arestovich, who served as an advisor to Ukraine's president until January, said Kyiv's counterattack would target the Kerch Bridge. Arestovich told the Feijin Live YouTube channel, hosted by Russian lawyer and former opposition politician Mark Feijin, that one of Ukraine's counterattack targets could be a campaign in the south of the country seeking to cut off the Russians from the land corridor to Crimea, paving the way for Ukraine to retake the Black Sea Peninsula illegally annexed by Russian President Vladimir Putin in 2014. We will destroy the Crimean bridge. All of this is possible under certain conditions. We are currently sorting out the conditions, said Arestovich. Putin blamed Ukraine for the attack on the bridge in October 2022. Ukraine did not claim responsibility for that attack. Newsweek has reached out to the Russian Foreign Ministry for comment via email. 7. The possibility that the Netherlands is the first country to donate F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine is very high. Reuters quoted Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte as saying that discussions on the possibility of giving F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine were underway. Although, as The Guardian previously reported, the Prime Minister insists that no decision has been made yet. Responding to a question at a press conference alongside Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo, Rutte said, regarding the F-16, for us there is no taboo. We are working closely with our partners Belgium, other countries, the UK, Denmark to bring that debate to an end. We are not there yet. Earlier this week, in the Finnish capital Helsinki, Zelensky reiterated demands from the West to supply Kyiv with modern fighter jets, adding that he was sure we will have planes soon. Prime Minister Rutte earlier said the Netherlands would consider any form of military assistance to Ukraine as long as it does not cause an overt conflict between NATO and Russia. He said Thursday that discussions about the F-16 would take time, as did previous discussions about donating Leopard 2 tanks and armored artillery. But at the moment, the tanks are in Ukraine, and the Leopard 2s are being delivered to Ukraine. So we're going to work hard on this, on the F-16s, and obviously there's support from Congress for the government to work on that. 8. CNN analysis shows no evidence of Ukraine's involvement in the Kremlin attack. The Kremlin has yet to produce concrete evidence to support the Russian government's claim on Wednesday that it thwarted a Ukrainian attempt to target President Vladimir Putin's life with a drone strike. Drones, although videos have emerged that purport to show the attack, including what appears to be the downing of a drone, and its aftermath. Analyzing the video, CNN was able to confirm the Kremlin's claim that 2 drones flew above the Kremlin early Wednesday, but CNN found no evidence of Ukrainian involvement. Here's what CNN knows so far about how events unfolded. A video that appears to show smoke rising from the Kremlin, geolocated by CNN, appeared on the local neighborhood Telegram channel at 2 p.m., 37 a.m. Wednesday local time. The first reports of the incident citing the Kremlin came from Russian state media TASS and RIA around 2:33 p.m. local time, that is, about 12 hours later. Shortly after the media first reported it, another video emerged showing the moment a drone exploded above the Kremlin that began to go viral on social media. In the video, the drone appears to fly towards the dome of the building, followed by a small explosion. In this video, 2 people can be seen climbing onto the dome holding flashlights and crouching just before the explosion. The climbers looking for the drone are not present in the first video but appear in the second, showing they were responding to the first drone fire at the time of the plane the next drone shows up. CNN has analyzed videos shared by Russian state TVC channel that show 2 separate drones flying from different directions within minutes of each other, based on the time displayed on the nearby Spasskaya Tower clock. The first drone was spotted over the Kremlin at 2:27 a.m. local time. It exploded on the Senate Palace, then a fire broke out on the roof of this palace. The second drone was recorded at 2:43 a.m. and its debris fell on the territory of the Kremlin. While the first drone caused a fire at the top of the dome, the second did not, instead appearing to explode in the air. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov did not address Wednesday's incident during his usual weekday press conference with reporters at around 12:30 p.m. local time, about 2 hours before the media. News media. Ukraine has denied any responsibility for the alleged attack, with Ukrainian presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolyak telling CNN that Ukraine has nothing to do with the drone attacks on the Kremlin. 9. Secretary of State Blinken told the Ukrainian foreign minister that the U.S. was sorry to have leaked classified documents. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said he told Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba that the U.S. was deeply sorry about last month's massive leak of classified U.S. documents. Blinken said the U.S. deeply regrets the unauthorized disclosure of these documents, that we take our information protection obligations and responsibilities very seriously. Speaking at a Washington Post event on Wednesday, Blinken said he reiterated U.S. support for Ukraine. I think it's fair to say that the people of Ukraine, like many other countries around the world, have benefited from the extraordinary information the United States has been able to develop and provide to help support, defend, protect their security, as well as ours. Blinken did not address Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's claim that he knew about the leak from the press and not from U.S. officials. The top U.S. diplomat said the leaks were virtually invisible during his travels and meetings. Actually, I raised this issue to some extent, just to make it clear how serious we are about this issue, Blinken said. More on the leak. Jack Teixeira, the 21-year-old suspect in the leak of classified U.S. documents posted on social media, was charged under the Espionage Act with unlawful retention and transmission of national information as well as unauthorized deletion of confidential information and defense of materials. According to the indictment documents, the Massachusetts Air Force National Guard sergeant allegedly began posting information about the documents online around December 2022, and they included a variety of classified information. Including wiretapping key allies and adversaries as well as candid assessments of the state of the Ukraine war. 10. Russia presents a new military threat to NATO. Russia said on Wednesday that it could retaliate with military measures if NATO uses Finnish territory. The warning came from Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova, who was commenting on a report that the U.S. military could send troops into Finnish bases. On Monday, Finnish newspaper Helsingin Sanomat, meaning Helsinki News, reported that Finnish Foreign Ministry official Michael Anttila said discussions on a new defense cooperation agreement between Helsinki and Washington could allow building new military infrastructure on Finnish soil. Anttila told the newspaper that the deal would not only strengthen Finland's recent NATO membership, but could also lead to U.S. troops being deployed to bases near Russia's border with Finland. "We are closely following NATO's plans regarding Finland," Zakharova told a news conference, according to TASS, the Russian government news agency. "We confirm that Russia will be forced to take retaliatory measures, both military, technical and other in nature, to limit threats to our national security from appearing in the relationship. This system." Zakharova added that Moscow considers any plan to involve U.S. troops in Finland as a violation of Helsinki's sovereignty. However, both Finland and NATO must realize that adding troops to Northern Europe will only contribute to increasing military and political tensions in the region, she said. Finland officially became a member of NATO in early April. The country's entry into the alliance is seen by many observers as a major setback for Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has repeatedly said that one of his goals in the war in Ukraine was to prevent the opening of the country. NATO expansion on the Russian border. Before Finland joined NATO, 5 NATO countries shared borders with Russia or the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad. These countries occupy about 754 miles of common border with Russia. Finland, meanwhile, shares an 830-mile border along northwestern Russia. With Finland becoming a member of the alliance, NATO officially increases the total number of shared borders with Russia to 1,584 miles. Even before Ms. Zakharova commented on Wednesday about adopting military technical measures in response to NATO's plans for Finland, Russia had already announced it would increase its military presence along the border with Finland. Speaking to the Kremlin-run RIA Novosti news agency shortly after the announcement that Finland was admitted to NATO, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko said that as a result, a lot of measures were announced. "We will strengthen our military capabilities in the west and northwest. If forces and means of other NATO members are deployed on Finnish territory, we will take additional steps to ensure Russia's military security," Grushko said. Newsweek has reached out to the foreign ministries of Russia and Finland by email for comment.